You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with John Hastings. Apparently, our relationship goes farther than what I remember. So fill me in on how you remember me.
Well, dude, the last time I think we even talked, man, we were in P and health together in high school.
Yeah, I think it was my sophomore year.
Yeah, I think I was in 11th grade.
Yeah.
But before that, we were in preschool together back at Bright Future. You don't remember any of this?
I remember very little. All I remember is I bit R.J. Hammond and he threw a pine cone at me.
Dude, I remember, dude, I used to throw shovels at people and tag because I wasn't fast enough.
I remember I used to get in so much trouble and stuff and getting time out all the time because they had the nap time, and I remember like there was always the grade that was above us that would come in, and Nicole Hooper.
Yeah, dude, I saw her the other day too.
Yeah, she works around here too. Isn't that crazy how like you get like these like it's like you ever seen Nightmare on Elm Street? You know how like they're all really connected and they all don't know?
Yeah,
That's what it is. You start finding old photographs like, holy crap, I was in class with this kid. Like I just talked to him the other day. I thought it was the first time meeting him. As it turns out you guys have a huge history.
It's so weird because my mom has like this picture hanging up in her office, and it's like me, it's Jeremy Bradford, and his brother Dylan Bradford.
Yeah.
And dude, we're like 5. And dude, it was weird. It's like a weird picture. I think like Summer Feely's in it too. I mean, I don't really talk to anybody really from high school anymore.
Yeah,
even back then.
I got disconnected from it for like a couple of years after I graduated. Just like the people you think that are gonna be like your best friends and you guys are gonna stay connected ended up you just don't even talk to anymore.
Dude, it like bums me out, man, because like my best friend group from high school, like, and that's obviously with everybody. I know a lot of people that have like best friends in high school, but once you leave high school, you go to college, you usually come back, like your college friends are like your best friends. But, like, with high school, like, my best friends, we hung out until about, like, a year or so ago. And the only guy I really talked to is my one buddy, Sean. And that's about it.
I remember you were friends with some kid with red hair. Kind of like a skinnier kid. It was you and him in PE class.
Oh, my buddy David, probably.
Yeah, David, yeah.
Yeah, see, I see him every now and then, but I don't go out of my way to talk to him, yeah.
That sucks because, like, a lot of people, like, take school for granted. Like, you understand, like, those people you're probably never gonna ever see again. Like I mean, I hear now, like I remember this couple kids I graduated with that aren't around anymore. They died either ODing or getting in a car accident. And it's like, holy shit! Like I was so disconnected from everyone. Now I'm trying to reconnect with everybody, and I'm trying to get everybody's story with my podcast and just offer it out there. And everyone's like so set in their ways to not go out and explore or go out and just they're stuck in a routine. They're like, I just want to go to work, go home, and then do all that. I'm like, we do need to take the time to get a little kick in our ass to go out and experience things because I mean, we don't know. Like eventually, someone's gonna make something with themselves. I mean, I have friends now that are like doing crazy things, going and getting scholarships to go to like NBA and like all these other types of like actual like professional baseball stuff and then professional basketball, and then you see them going into professional football and professional all that stuff. I'm like, damn, it makes me feel like a lazy shit, but I'm so happy because one day when I have a kid, I'm not jealous. I'm just gonna be like, see that? I went to school with that kid, and then like your son's like, oh my god, no way, really?
Yeah, see, like, that's so cool. And it's cool. I thought it was cool that you like reached out to me because like I said, man, we haven't talked in like 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I've known you since like we were all like in elementary school, preschool, man. Like I said, like when your dad brought in that drum kit, like for me that's like a memory that like I remember, and like that's cool because I remember like your dad coming in, bringing the drum kit and letting all the kids play on it in preschool, and we were all like 5 and 6, 7-year-olds slapping around on this thing.
I just totally I forget because like sometimes someone will say something, mom's like, you remember this, and then I'll find like an old photograph of like Bright Future or something in that preschool we went to, and I'm like, I remember we all had a party at her house, like we all slept over.
Yeah, it was like it was like a camp. Yeah, I wasn't camp. You know, I remember that too. I remember that too.
It was like it was a field trip basically, but like, hey, all the kids are gonna come over and spend the night.
Yeah,
and
that was
do
like
all that.
so cool, man.
And that's what introduced me to the Little Rascals. They had that. She was like addicted to that show, and she put it on like the thing for everybody to watch. We're all just sitting there watching it, and it's like memory is so powerful, and you think like like, oh, I have a shit memory. No, like, you can remember a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
it just takes a weird thing to awaken it.
Just to trigger it, dude.
That's just crazy.
And because I remember that too. I still see her like a lot though, because she lives over in Bishopville, like around
she talks
there.
to my mom still, like, how's he doing? And like, I was the last person anybody thought would ever to go to college, and I ended up being the first one in my family to go to college.
Where'd you go?
I went to Warwick, and I'm doing a transfer over to UMES. I see the reason why I don't want to go to Salisbury is the kind of the profile of people there.
Dude, I agree, man. I mean,
the Salisbury, all white people, Starbucks on every corner. Nah, that ain't me. I'm used to being out of place. I'm used to being the odd one out. So I would like to go to a school where I'm a minority, where I get to experience that. Because that's something important everyone needs to experience, man. You need to feel out of place at some point. Because that's what's going to, like, there's a such thing as white, like, there's white privilege. We don't understand it, that there's black privilege as well. There's all types of privilege depending on any race. But we don't experience it because me and you aren't minorities here. We never will be. Now, I work in a hotel industry. I am on an all Hispanic and black staff. Okay, I'm the only white guy. You know how hard it has been for me to break through that racial barrier when I go to lunch and there's nothing but Hispanic people there. They're all speaking Spanish, and then you hear your name pop up because you can't disguise it in another language. You're like, what the fuck did you just say? And like, it's like, they're like, oh, nothing, and they act like they don't understand. It's like, but now I've worked with them for 3 years, and like, I'll say something, they're like, no, I don't understand. They're like, look at you like this. I'm like, no, don't give me that shit. I know you understand me. And they're like, Robbie. I'm like, yeah, I know you speak English. Like, I've worked with you for 3 years. I know how it goes. But it's like, some people are like, but how can you stand the stress of that? It's fun as shit. You get to understand that there are people that'll try and pull one over on you, and being able to catch that shit, oh my god, it's so much fun, dude. Like, they teach me Spanish too, and I like to piss them off because I'll go to I'll try and get like a Duolingo app or some type of foreign translation app, and I'll sit there and I'll be like, el queso. Like, which means cheese. Yeah, but I'll act like it means something else. Like, Robbie, that means cheese. And I'm like, el queso. And I'll just keep saying it over and over again. They're like, and they'll just like do the Hispanic, like that. And it's so funny because they're all like older women, and, you know, they're all like, they kind of treat me like they don't have really kids of their own. So they kind of treat me as like their son a little bit away, like a redheaded stepchild. You gotta kind of keep them. But it's fun as shit, man. And that's something you can experience too. So you do professionally, you're work at a summer camp?
Well, I do that in the summer, and in the winter, I work down at Snow Hill Elementary. So I'm like trying to become like a full-time teacher.
Oh,
so right now I'm like an EA down there. I'm like an aide. So I've been down there for about 2 years.
Why
now.
Teaching?
Well, I always thought like working with kids was fun. So I went to school for early childhood and special ed. So I've been like I always wanted to work with kids that had like autism or like any kind of like disability. So my first year I was like a one-on-one with a student who had Downs, and he was like really cool, man. That was a struggle. There was definitely days that were better than others, days that were worse than others, and but like even though it was like that, I spent every day with him, so I like loved the kid, and so I was really so I always wonder how he's doing over at the middle school. I was happy to have that experience. So this past year he like graduated, he like went to 4th grade, so I just like did my own thing this year. So if I'm not able to get a teaching job this year, I'll probably be like another one-on-one with another student who has Downs. We'll see how that goes. I mean,
do you find it struggling or like hard to kind of deal with people with disabilities? Because for some reason I've talked to my past couple of podcasts I've had have been with people that work with kids with disabilities, and I'm seeing this whole other spectrum of people because I feel really, really bad for the jobs that they are only qualified to do compared to some people's way of thinking of someone that has a disability or a mental. I've been diagnosed with a mental disability, ADHD. That is a recognized disorder, okay? I went to school for psychology. Yeah. That's ridiculous because I can see it as a burden and a curse. It is a hindrance when it comes to getting sleep. I don't sleep. I've been up for 2 days now. And I just got off work, so I was like, whatever, man. Like, I get shit done, though. Like, if I'm able to crank out podcasts, if I'm able to crank out schoolwork, if I'm able to take 6 classes at once, then work 2 jobs, then also work 3 hours a day, or work out 3 hours a day, and also keep that going. Like, I'm a man of, like, that might make some people feel lazy, but I'm jealous because then I have days like today where I might be off for most of the day, I'll fucking just pass out. I mean, I can sleep for, I think the longest I can get sleep-wise is like 4 hours. But that
Really?
is, that's where I do call it a disorder because it is hard to focus with things. But my teacher found out in 3rd grade a way to funnel my energy. Same thing with Miss Tina from Bright Future. She realized, get the energy out. He's got too much. My energy comes back every 10 minutes. I can drink a cup of coffee right now, go right to bed right afterwards. Caffeine has no effect on me at all. I only drink Red Bulls or anything like that for the taste. And people are like, that's insane. Like, if I drank one of those, I'd be shaking. I don't understand that because I can be, like, dead tired 1 minute, and then 10 minutes later, I'm ready to go full energy. Like, someone just gave me a new pack of batteries.
It's crazy, man.
It sucks when you're trying to get some sleep, dude, but let me tell you, you get stuff done. And I get very, very upset when people make judgments about people with disabilities, because I did that at one point in my life. I was part of a group and I joked around with them about someone. Then I took the time to read books on people with disabilities, with fiction or nonfiction books. There's one book I like to quote. It's called Inside Out. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it all stemmed from a book I read called Cruise Control, about an older brother who's got all the basketball scholarships headed his way, like amazing talent. Seems like he's got the talent of 2 people in him. He's going off to bigger and better things. But he has a little brother 2 years behind him that is completely disabled in a wheelchair, makes moaning noises and drools all over himself, and is really hard to deal with, has seizures that knock him out and stuff. And he talks about how he hates his brother, but he loves him. Anybody tries to hurt him, he's going to defend him. But he watched kids, like in the book you read from his perspective, some kids walked up with a lighter and put it under his brother's chin and would sit there and let it burn. And he can't move because he's disabled, so he's just moaning and screaming, trying to get away from the fire.
Jeez, man,
and
that's gnarly.
you read that in some text, and something that's so, like, it's words on a piece of paper, but an author able to express that and make you get a whole new reasoning of thinking coming from someone that has a family member that is dealing with disabilities.
Yep.
I've talked to someone recently who has a brother who's been put into institutions. Yep. And he's getting older and older, and he's getting stronger and stronger, so it's harder for when he has these freakouts for people to be able to control him. So they put him in an institution. He has been abused in an institution. They had it on video. He had a handprint on the side on his back from one of the people throwing him against the wall. And then the guy's talking about, and it's on video, the guy's talking about banging the student or banging the institution people when the lights go out, when they go to bed. And you realize with these types of hateful people out there, it brings in some serious shit. And then it brings also the aspect of, if there's someone so evil on this spectrum that has this type of like craziness wrong with them and has this terrible way of thinking, there's someone passionate about caring for these people like yourself, someone that's going to be willing to take the time and invest everything he possibly can into helping some kids like this. And it goes to the spinoff of the book, back to what I was saying, called Inside Out, where it comes from the brother's perspective, the one that's in the chair. And he's really, really smart, like a Stephen Hawking's inside of his mind, but he can't express his emotions. What the diagnostics for diagnosing if a kid is mentally disabled is usually around the age of 2 years old. Yep. When they color code their blocks and they be able to stack them in a way that seems way more advanced than what a 2-year-old should be doing. And the reason why is their brain is at a max development capacity. So whatever their brain is developed at that age of 2 is as far as it's going to go. They're going to be 40 with that same brain. And that's just because their brain evolved or reached a higher level of maturity faster, and it stops. It's like you water a plant, the plant shoots up and then just stops growing, or the person that hits a growth spurt in like 6th grade.
And they don't grow anymore.
They don't grow anymore.
Yep.
And you think they're going to be tall forever. Like, this kid's going to be a genius. No, he's done. It's sad, but I would spout that a couple of times because I read that in actual research books on diagnosing like mental disorders and autism spectrum stuff, and people are like, that's not true. Like, there's no way a person with autism would be able to stack blocks color coded and stuff. I'm like, that's how doctors diagnose it.
And they all think differently. They think a lot differently than we do.
Sometimes changing your nutrition helps a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, this one student I work with this past year, he has autism. He's not like severely autistic. I mean, he's special. But he's like one of the smartest kids I've met. I mean, he's just weird, which I mean, it comes with the territory in some aspects. He's really cool, but he's a fantastic artist. He's just very smart for his age, and I mean, he's special. He has autism, but it's not like as severe as some of the cases that you've read about that I've like seen that I've read about too. Like I read this one book in college in one of the classes that I took. I can't remember what it was called. But it was about a student who, his dad, it was from the perspective of the dad. It was literally about the same thing about, like, this brother. His dad was talking about how he, like, hates his son. He, like, can't handle his son because all his son does.
Was it a small book?
No, I think it was probably about 150 pages.
Now, do you remember the son's name?
I do not, man.
Is the son's name Sean?
I don't think so.
Okay, because that was the person. Because there's also a spinoff of those two books that's from the dad's perspective.
Do you remember what that book's called?
The book I'm talking about?
Yeah.
There's Inside Out, which is from the kid Sean's perspective, who has the autism spectrum.
Okay.
Then his brother Paul, who's Cruise Control. That's the title of that book. And then there's another one from the dad's perspective, and I forgot what that one's called though. But it's like 150 pages.
Dude, honestly, it probably might be the same book.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember what it was called, but it was tough to read, man. Because it was just his dad was talking about how much he like hated his son, like he couldn't do anything with his son,
and he had to leave.
Yeah,
leave him and then tries to come back and see him. But the weird part was about this dad in this book was he went on all these talk shows and read a bunch of books about having a mentally disabled child and how hard it is, but he was never around the child.
Yeah, dude, honestly, this is probably the same book.
Yeah, and the mom would never say why the dad left, was just like he couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And she told him to go. And then the oldest brother, the one that hates his dad, wants to beat him up and all this stuff and just resents him for leaving his family and leaving him and his mom to deal with this brother of theirs that is autistic. And the dad goes, it wasn't my choice. Your mom saw I couldn't handle it, like breaking down and seeing him go and throw himself into seizures and stuff. I just couldn't. I would just cry and just couldn't handle it anymore. And then he always thought he sees his dad from another perspective. Like anybody that doesn't understand or wants to make a quick judgment on someone with special needs, they need to read that book. They need to read that series because it enlightens you on everything. And it pisses me off when I go to a grocery store and see them, if it's wintertime and they're out in the snow pushing shopping carts around, and then you see the people inside at the cash registers just laughing and drinking drinks and, enjoying the inside warmth.
Yeah, I mean, it's
and you're
nothing, yeah.
That's not fair. They're old. Their only thing is not just pushing shopping carts. There's a thing called idiot savant syndrome. Have you ever heard of that? It's the guy that, there's an example of it. A guy took a flight over the New York skyline, and he was able to draw
and then he drew
everything.
the whole thing.
That's idiot savant syndrome, and the reason why is people with autism, 60% of the people that have idiot savant syndrome have autism. 60%, not all the time, but 60% do. The same guy that's seems really, really dumb and really, really autistic, but he can play Beethoven and play these types of symphonies type stuff. They have different aspects because where one part of their brain is lacking, there's another part usually in the creative aspect that is amazing. And it talks about the same thing with your person that you got to witness with amazing artistic talent.
Yeah.
Even though he has a small level on the spectrum scale, he's still able to find a creativity way where his brain is boosted in that category.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to think about how different everybody is. Because I've always loved working with children with special needs, working with people with special needs. I mean, so what, you were a year below me. What year did you graduate? 16?
15.
15, so you're 2 years after me. Yeah, we had that one dude, Larry Jock, who was in my grade. And I remember at the time, I was kind of like an asshole, man. Because I remember I would be sitting in math. Math was really easy for me. But every now and then, he wouldn't get something, so he would just, start screaming. He was pretty autistic. He was cool, though. But he would just start screaming, and I'm sitting in the back of the room man, come on, I just want to do my work. Chill.
Shut the hell up.
Chill. But as I look back on it now, it's I get it, because, you have kids in there that want to scream, but they're able to control it. But then you have a kid who's not able to control it, so he just does it. And it makes sense now, after 6 years of me being,
involved with these people.
I look back at it, I'm like, God, man, I was kind of a dick. But, that all changed, too. Obviously, perspectives change over time. Everything's okay. But
you feel better in where you're at now with just how you're thinking about things more towards...
Yeah, I mean, I've really cut down my judgmental mentality as much because I don't really judge people anymore. Like if somebody tells me something, like cool, that's your thing, it's all good.
Yeah.
Like I don't look at it
I mean,
like you're right, I'm wrong.
I did get into an argument yesterday with a couple Jehovah's Witnesses just because I felt like it. I was just walking on the boardwalk. I like to play devil's advocate on
Are
a
those
lot
like
of
the
shit.
monks on the boardwalk? That's not what those aren't.
No, those aren't Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses are the people that come up and go, "You have a minute to talk about the Lord and Savior
Oh,
Jesus
is that what
Christ."
they are, dude? Man.
Well, they're on the boardwalk, and usually I don't care. Like, I find fault with. I try and fight the argument. So me and you agree that it's really bad how they treat people with mental disorders. Now I'm going to look at it from someone that treats people bad with mental disorders. They don't fully function and they're very disruptive people. So I'm going to, even though I don't believe that's to be 100% true, I still want to argue the small side that's not being represented in the argument. Because you have to look at both sides of the spectrum. You can't just, if I say, dude, fucking toast is awesome. And you say, yeah, toast is awesome. Conversation's over. Like, what the fuck?
All right, dude, good talk.
Like,
see you next time.
What about the badness of toast? Like, you ever had a really burnt-ass piece of toast? Like, it sucks ass. You're like, this is some crusty shit. And then, like, if you ever have a piece of toast that's not, like, toasted all the way, it's like, I would have way better of a time eating a banana I crushed with my fucking foot than this piece of thing. Like, you gotta make humor out of it, but you also have to enlighten the other view, because a lot of what's wrong with society today is everyone comes to an agreement and then that's how it is, even though they don't fully agree on it. There's still shit left unsolved. Let's come to a conclusion on things. There shouldn't be a problem with talking about politics, religion at a dinner table. There shouldn't be any of that. It shouldn't be a stigmatized thing. Because we both have views, and whether we agree to it or not, we both got them out there. You saw how I was thinking. I see how you were thinking. So bam. It's not a bad conversation. There are no such things as bad conversation. There's only conversations that didn't come to a logical ending or didn't have a resolution.
No, and I agree. And the thing with that is with people that like my dad like loves politics, but I like don't want him talking to other people that have different viewpoints because he's a little brutal in some aspects, and I don't understand why people like have to defend their sides like so brutally. Like I don't get it.
You think just because he's so passionate about it?
I guess so, but like it's that, but also with like the attacks on like because he's Democrat, like he's 100% Democrat, but then he just like attacks the other side. But I'm like, Dad, like look at it from this side, and he like just won't do it.
Have you ever heard like my podcast is a lot like Joe Rogan Experience? He's my kind of influence of how
I know who Joe Rogan is.
Well, like Joe Rogan has a bit where he talks about like the president, like. Okay, people make fun of Trump, saying he's an orange hair, crazy guy, just outlandish, just makes the dumbest stuff, tweets. I mean, he drinks like, I think it's like 24 diet sodas a day.
That is pretty
Diet
crazy.
Cokes.
That's crazy, though.
Diet Cokes,
that is
not
pretty
even,
nuts.
Like, if you're drinking a Diet Cream soda, like one of these, this is like half of a normal diet soda. The reason why is there's not a lot of carbonation in it. There's more potassium, so it's actually keeps you... Like, the weird part about it, if you drink a diet soda, you have a weird shitty feeling afterwards.
Yeah, it just tastes a little different.
That annihilates that because there's no of that extra carbonation where it tries to fill up your stomach with artificial stuff. Well, he drinks a shit ton of Diet Coke.
That is nuts,
and watches 8 hours of television a day. And you're like, how the fuck does a man that runs the damn nation do that? And so people criticize him on that. Like, this is why the country's sucking right now. I'm like, no president has done it right. I mean, nobody.
It's not like the president can just go in there and just do his thing.
No one person should run the country. It's too much power to put in the hands of anybody. And Joe Rogan has a bit about it. Like, the one person that broke into the White House or whatever, it was the easiest thing. He broke in and he was in the White House for over an hour, just running around. And the reason why was there was a woman guarding the door. That's his joke. And it was true. There was a woman... But there was a off-duty cop that tackled the guy. It was an off-duty security officer that's guarding the White House. Like, was just there, I guess, picking up a paycheck or something, that tackled the guy. It's like, holy shit, this guy shouldn't be on there. His joke is, you don't break into the White House thinking you're going to survive. Like, you don't think you're going to live afterwards. You go there because you're going to do suicide. He had 30,000 rounds of ammunition in his car. He left all his guns in there, just brought a knife.
Really?
He jumped the fence thinking every step this is Joe Rogan's bit, is every step was going to be his last. Like, this is the last fucking step. This is the last fucking step. Because you think of the White House, you think of if you try and throw, like, if a bug lands on the fucking grass, lasers come out and that bug's fucking gone. No, this motherfucker ran in there, slapped a chick in the face, a freaking officer that was a woman cop that was talking on the cell phone, slapped her in the face, ran in and was inside the White House for, I think it was like almost an hour, just running around, looking for someone to, like, the president. Like, that's our fucking president's home, and it's not even protected that well.
Well, I don't think you expect anybody. Well, you don't expect anybody to do that. Like, that is manic.
Exactly. It was a suicide thing. Like, you know how you see someone that gets out of the car, like, I have a gun, shoot me now, shoot me, and the cops shoot him. It's a whole suicide thing. He wasn't expecting to live, or he would have brought guns in with him. He brought a fucking knife and left all his ammunition in the car. And not only that, the FBI and Secret Service and all these people already knew he was planning on invading the White House and didn't do shit about it. They saw all the things like, there's no way he's actually going to go through with it. He had a fucking plan, all the ammo, people warned you that he was going to do it, he was off of his rocker, and he goes and does it. If you hear that story, and then you're like, why am I going to take the president seriously if that fucking people protecting it is going to?
Yeah.
It's too much power. People are like, I think a woman should become president. I don't think, Joe Rogan says, I don't think a woman would be a bad president either. But I think she's going to fuck it up just like all the other guys that fucked it up.
I was talking to my one buddy the other day. As us being average Americans, just average people, whoever president, it doesn't really affect us. It doesn't affect us that much. Because whatever they want to do, it never gets put into place. Like in a manageable amount of time. By the time it does, it's pretty much like on to the next thing already. So for us, it doesn't really matter who's president, man. You could put a woman in there. You could put like, you could put a goddamn gorilla.
Ghost in there.
Yeah, gorilla, ghost.
I like gorilla. Let's stick for gorilla.
You could put any fucking thing in there, dude. And all it is everybody under him. The people that are there, like the lifers that are there, dude. They're the ones that control it. I don't know too much about politics, but I know enough that the president doesn't do everything.
Yeah.
So that's all you really need to know.
They go and they just kind of, it's their whole thing is they have the title that holds the power. But I believe in a giant Illuminati type thing. I believe there's a thing like the New World Order.
Oh,
now,
dude, I think conspiracies are cool, and I agree with it.
I'm not talking about New World Order with Hulk Hogan. I'm talking about fucking New World Order, like some secret strings working shit. I don't believe all the pictures and dollar signs or dollar bills and all those, like, fold it and you get to see the Twin Towers burning. I don't believe any of that shit. I believe that there is someone working in the shadows, like a dark government that is controlling things that we don't know about. But I believe if me and you come to this realization and start thinking like that, people are like, oh, you're just crazy, you're batshit. Am I, or are my eyes open? But I don't have time to deal with this problem. I don't have time to try and convince other people there is a conspiracy out there, there is a shadow government. To believe that there isn't something that has been around to establish and make sure things run right, there's no evidence saying that there isn't that, but there is no evidence saying that there is. There might be some types of weird Sandy Hook shootings and other types of things of this sort, but there is no full come down conclusion to it. And when it comes to something like that, I'm like, the best thing we can do as people is just try and be as best as we can. And a sad thing that I've come to realize with how awesome people are is people fucking suck. And the only reason that is everyone sucks. I suck, no offense, but you suck. Yeah. The only reason is we have an aspiration to be great, but we choose the easiest option and the easiest road, which is the one that is going to be, I guess, less productive and try and get our own way across. How many times do you hear someone doing something that put someone else down so they can get ahead, so they can step on someone's throat to climb the ladder? Whether you do that or whether I do that, it doesn't matter. But I believe when you go and you take your willingness of your time and your power to go and help these people that are dealing with disabilities, you are doing something great and amazing. Some people might not look at it in that way. And I think when you start realizing we all have an aspect to be great, and you start realizing, why am I going to sabotage someone else's goals in life? And why don't I just put mine on hold to help out? Now, you can't put them on hold all the time. You still have to help yourself. But karma comes around. There's stuff that you take the time to go into stuff. and like correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just how I've learned to grow up into things.
No,
Like,
dude, my parents are the same way. I've learned everything that way too. My dad's very big on everything like that. And so I've always been a big, like, always helping people, like, always just helping anything you see that needs help, like animals, like anything. So I've always been a big on that too with you, man. Like, I know it may not be helping me at the time, but eventually something will help me out. So it happens, and I get
comes
it.
around, goes around.
Yeah,
man.
dude, and that's everybody. That's how it has to be.
Where did you get the passion or even the start of trying to dive into helping children or just be involved in teaching in general? Because that's a weird thing for at least a kid our age to kind of
Yeah, especially
dive
like
into.
even like a male in some aspects.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like as a teacher, it's very female dominated.
Yeah, it's a feminine position.
Yeah. So growing up, I had a friend who had Down syndrome. Anyway, he was like this big Hawaiian dude. He didn't like go to school with us. He lived in Delaware, but like as in Delaware, like Selbyville, literally like 5 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
And my dad was like really good friends with his dad. So we would always go over there, man. He's like this big Hawaiian kid, man. This kid was big.
Polynesian people are pretty
Yeah,
big.
he's quite huge.
A local to Polynesian, just a quick little tangent. They put this stuff on their food that is lard times like 6. It's called poi. It's straight fat. They feed it to their babies,
Yeah, to
and
get 'em
that's why they
big,
get
dude.
so fucking huge.
So huge,
Dude, I had
man.
McDonald's. I think it was like the last time I had fast food was like 4 years ago. But when I went down there, I had it on a McDonald's burger. I threw it out. I hate fucking mayo. I hate all that shit. But it was like eating paste, like eating Elmer's glue. You're like, oh god, like you can't even chew because it's like just gets your
It's
mouth.
just mush.
Feels like it's chewing like
That sounds
fucking
terrible.
paste. Oh, dude, I was like, I'm not eating this, and the guy said, "You gonna finish that?" I'm like, "Excuse me?" He's like, "Dude, I love that stuff." I'm like, "You put it on your burgers, man." He's like, "Yeah, we put it on fucking everything." I'm
That
like,
is disgusting.
I'm not eating while I'm down here, and just walked out. Like,
Dude, that is crazy.
it's cool though because you get a whole nother culture, and you
And that's how it is when you go to different places like that. Like obviously every area, country, location has like its different features, different culture aspects. Like I went to England not too long ago.
whoa, how was that?
Dude, it was pretty sick. I went to England for 3 weeks for like a study abroad thing with my college.
Did you pick up an accent?
I did not, dude. That's the one thing. So after about the second week, I was a little done with the accent, surprisingly, because just everybody would say it. And you would see like a good looking chick, and then she would start talking and be like, well, we'll see ya, like later. It was just different. It was just got like annoying just because of the way they like talked and stuff, but obviously that's
What's
That's
wrong?
how it is.
What's wrong with the words coming out of your mouth? Why do they sound like
yeah, why do they sound so like
proper?
yeah, I feel like you're
Everything.
talking down to me when
Are
you
we
say
getting fucking tea right now, or can I just eat this Taco Bell in peace, man?
yeah, like when you say like fag, man, it just sounds so much different than when I say it.
Yeah, they're like, would you like a fog? Or they call your fanny, like if you wear a fanny pack, they go, oh, you pack a lot of things in your gay pack. That's what
It's
they
just
call it.
so
It's a gay
funny,
pack.
dude.
You're like, oh my god. But then you realize, like, you go and try and experience that. Now they're white, but you're a minority because you're an American.
Yeah, you're different.
It's like, but
Dude.
countries aren't a race. That's a freaking. Well, why are Russians a race? They're white though.
Yeah,
But it's
dude.
like a whole nother thing of how we categorize people. Oh, they're different. We gotta look at them in a different
They
light.
just talk a little different than us. Dude, like it was funny because so I went to this one concert when I was over there. It was like the last weekend I was there. And this dude starts coming up and singing to me. I'm like, but I have my headphones in, so I was kind of like, there's like a homeless guy, so I'm just like kind of like trying to ignore him. So I take my headphones. I'm like, dude, was that guy singing to me? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, was it good? They're like, it actually wasn't too bad. I'm like, oh, all right. But then I
Right
started
on.
talking to them. They're like, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from the United States. They're like, yeah, we get that. Like, where are you from? like
Yeah,
in the United
what
States.
in the United
Like
States,
where are
yeah.
you like what are you doing here, yada yada. So it was fun always talking to people there because they were like, once you start talking, they're like, whoa, like we got somebody that's not from around here. It was cool because That happens here.
Dude, it
happens
here.
in Ocean City
you run
all
into
the
someone
time.
from Canada. You're like, where are you from? Like, I'm from North America. And they're like, yeah, but what part of North America? You from Maine? Like, oh, I'm from Canada. So you're from Canada? No, I'm from North America, asshole. Like, I'm still part of North America.
Dude, you're not wrong by saying North America.
And it's like, it's crazy because, like, you go and you experience somewhere else, like somewhere foreign land like that, and you get a whole different development style of how people are.
Yep.
And it's crazy because you get so comfortable, and you need to experience these types of things. You need to go to an exotic place, a foreign place, and be the minority, man. You'll get something crazy like that, dude. And it's fun as shit because you can, like, I'm the odd man out. Like, the way I talk is different. I like that.
And it was cool because when I would go to the pub, like, all the time. And, like, whenever I would, like, go to the pub, like, I would go to pubs where it was just me. I would go by myself. I did a lot of stuff by myself. So I would go to the pub by myself, and I just always end up talking to, like, the bartender, and I'd, like, always talk to him. And they just thought it was cool that I was from, like, America, so they would, like, always ask me questions and stuff. But it's different because the few people that I, like, met over there and I would talk to, like, they're like, oh, yeah, America. So they like, come over a lot. I'm like, well, this is probably the only time I'll ever be in England again. And they're like, yeah, I went to New York, like, about a year ago. I'll probably be back soon again. I'm like, oh, well, I probably won't be back over here for a while. Again.
It sucks because when you hear about the people that do come over here and like, yeah, I went to Texas, man. I just couldn't handle it. I've never been back to America since. And you're like, you went to a really crazy spot to visit, like a really one-sided spot. And like, you go to New York, like you're visiting a really loud fucking place where people walk around with headphones in just to keep the noise, like, from hurting their ears.
It's weird to me because, like, if you come and visit America, like, where do you visit? Like, because for me, I don't really have the desire to, like, go to New York. I don't really have the desire to, like, go to Philadelphia. I don't really have the desire to, like, go to big cities. I mean, for me, I guess...
Are you a small town kid?
I mean, I don't mind, like, going to cities and stuff. I like being here. Like, I really like being in this area. But, I mean, for cities, like, what's there to really do, though? Like, I guess for me, like, I mean, I like if I'm gonna travel, then I want to go to, like, national parks. Like, I love national parks.
You want to get in touch with nature. That's the same thing.
Like,
with me.
I think that stuff's so cool to see, man. Like, I would love to go to, like, Mount Rushmore. I love to go see the geysers and stuff, Yellowstone. I would love to go and see, like, I just want to travel around the country before I go anywhere else. Like, my one buddy, it's pretty cool, man. His dad worked in Alaska for 2 summers. So he would fly out there, and him and his dad are just big nature buffs. So he would fly out there, and they would take 2 to 3 weeks to drive back from Alaska, and they would just stop everywhere. Take, like, a day. He's like, the only time we really even drove for a full day was through the Great Plains, because the Great Plains are boring, because it's just flat. I'm like, it makes sense, dude.
I just have a fascination. Like, if I was going to travel, I want to travel somewhere exotic just to get everyone's perspective and story. Like, I literally just made recently a bunch of, I think, 1,000 business cards of my podcast, just so I can just start handing them out on the boardwalk. Like, that's what I was doing the other day when I got into an argument with Jehovah's Witnesses. Before I became a fucking asshole and decided to hop in on this because the guy was like, "You're going to hell, sir." And he was talking to some dude. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I took my earphones out. I was like, "Excuse me, what'd you say to that guy?" He's like, "He's going to hell. He doesn't believe in following God's order and plan for things." I'm like, "And how did you come to that conclusion?" And he's like, "One day I realized." And I was like, "And you consider that to be God, right?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I'm like, "But would that be your own personal experience or maybe miracle that you discovered something that might be an existential being out there? Who's to say God's a man sitting on a gold throne, but who's also to say God's not a 40-year-old guy wearing VR goggles with socks with Crocs on, jacking off in virtual reality on Mars?" And he goes, "That's a really corrupt way of thinking of it, son." And I'm like, well, I'm actually an ordained minister under the United Church of Bacon, and I talk about it all the time. And he goes, "What?" And I'm like, "You ever heard of a parody religion?" And he's like, "What's a parody religion?" I'm like, "You ever heard of Pastafarianism?" And he's like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Okay, well, I got in trouble for going to the NBA to get a pasta strainer on my head in my NBA picture photo." He's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, I tried to do it. And the reason why is there's no law saying I can't do it. If it's a recognized religion, and it is in 6 states in America, there's over 600,000 people following it. There's also the dumb religions. But like I said, I can't judge religion until I've interpreted, and I do a spin-off of my podcast. So much how like we're having a conversation, I do stuff that's focused on narrowed down topics, and that's called fill in the blank. So like there's a fake parody religion right there. Reverend Billy and the Church of Shopping, they believe that you should spend all your money. Like, every time you get a paycheck, don't save it, spend it, spend it,
Dude,
spend
that's
it,
so
spend it.
cool.
But it's a real thing. So I print out these articles and do podcasts with my friends. Like, I'll have you on, and I'll be like this. So, John, welcome to an episode of Fill in the Blank. What do you know about the Reverend Church of Shopping? And you're like, what? And I'll pull up facts on this TV right here, and we'll look up facts on it and all these cases and everything like that. I've done Jediism, people that believe in being a Jedi.
Being a Jedi, I know that.
I'm also, if you know Dudism, I'm ordained by the Latter-day Saints of the Church of Dudism, which is the Big Lebowski, the dude.
Okay.
I'm that.
That's cool.
I went to Maryland courthouse, paid $45, took me an hour and a half to convince these people to give me my minister's license under the Church of Bacon. But I'm an ordained minister now. I have the certificates and diplomas to prove it. And the whole reason was, I'm going to dive into all aspects of religion and every single interpretation of someone's understanding or parody, whatever you want to call it, because I can't make a justification on something without having my own opinion on it. So the only thing I could not get behind was Scientology, because that just sounds like
Dude,
a little
Scientology is
I also
nuts,
hate fucking
dude.
Tom Cruise. And a lot of people are like, what about Mission Impossible? I'm like, no, I don't give a shit. I hate Tom Cruise. I'm sorry. I just don't like that guy. Now, if I ever had a chance to podcast with him, I'll pass. I'm sorry. And I'm willing to podcast with anybody, but I don't want to hear his crazy thoughts. Now, when it comes to me talking to this Jehovah's Witness, I was like, do you ever hear of Russell's teapot? And he goes, what's that? I'm like, the idea that I can tell you right now that there's a teapot floating between Earth and the sun right now, and you would have no way to prove me wrong. He goes, yeah, but it's not true. I'm like, how do you know it's not true? Have you discovered all of space? Have you been up into outer space? Have you looked up in a telescope in the past 30 years? No? Okay then. So, same thing with God. I can't say God isn't real. I don't know. But the fact is, if you had an experience that you did recognize God, you shouldn't be so aggressive in trying to make others believe in what you believe in, because they haven't come to that realization, or they just don't find belief with it. I am jealous of people that have belief, but I'm not closed off to anything. I'm part of the Invisible Pink Unicorn Church. I'm part of them. They believe that it's the same thing with God. The fact that it's ironic. I can't tell you there's a powerful deity out there because I can't see it, and I don't know if he's out there or not. He could be a fucking woman. I don't know. And the Invisible Pink Unicorn's counteractive, because it's like, it's a pink unicorn, but it's invisible. So how the fuck you know it's pink? Bam! That's all religion is. Pastafarianism, its whole start was a kid in Harvard wrote a paper saying we shouldn't have to believe in a recognized religion being taught in the schools. It shouldn't be a strict Christian school teaching of religion. It shouldn't have that. It should be open to all aspects of interpretation, not be closed off to anything. I'm 100% for that. Your thoughts, whether they differ from mine, are going to be just as interesting, and I want to get it on a podcast. It's the reason why I walk with my mobile recorder all the way down the boardwalk, just trying to get people's stories and life experiences, whether they want it recorded or not. I want people to know their life is interesting. And whether you want,
cool, man.
Whether someone gets something from it, it's just something. But I also, like, I was closed off for so long, and like I said, where I realize everybody sucks, I have a good influence on why I think that. But I also think we have an aspiration to become great. And usually in my podcast, I try and show them the light of their ways. Like, do you recognize that you being so comfortable not going out and exploring your goals or passions and not helping others, you're not doing anything beneficial to anything in your life at all? And they're like, wow, you're right. Next thing I know, I just changed a person and made a better person in this world. Whether it worked or whether you take everything I have, flush it down the fucking toilet, and just go eat a bean burrito on top of it. I don't care. The fact was, we had a conversation and I got to make my own interpretation of you as possible. You're telling me the book of John Hastings. Fucking tell me more, man. Why are you so involved in going after these kids and like helping them and being able to find them jobs and being able to help them in any part of their way? Why are you doing that, man? That's so strange. Why do you want to be a fucking teacher? Like, I want to hear it all. What's the end goal? What's the last chapter of the John Hastings book? Because it's going to keep on writing until that date comes, and I want to hear it.
Oh man, dude, you're good at this, dude. It's stressing me out, dude.
I don't want to stress you out.
Nah, man, dude, you're good.
I want you. How am I good?
Dude,
Explain
see,
that.
the way you like just your thoughts are just so fluent. A lot of people, they think they stutter and they can't really get it out in the way. Like for me, it's tough for me to get across like my feelings. and across like the way I think at the time. And at the time, I think is obviously a lot different from other people, which is just how people are. And it's like for you, it's just like you're just so open to everything, and I think that's awesome, dude. Like that's so sick. Like for me, it took me a few years to kind of just realize that everybody's just different. Everybody just thinks differently.
Yeah.
And so like now, like somebody tells me something, I look at it like I said earlier, I look at it. That's their thoughts, man. And I look at it from my point of view, and I'm like, no, they're not that crazy. Just maybe sometimes.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
sometimes
It's
they're
not
a
even
little
like
off.
crazy, but
Like, why is that guy walking backwards to the door instead of walking forward?
hey, man, it's how some people work.
Maybe he just wants to change it up. Add a
You
little
know,
spice to
just
his life.
just want to get the monotony of walking through the door normal.
It's like the guy that wears like 50 wristbands on his arm. Like, why the fuck are you wearing 50 wristbands on there? And it's just so someone says something and mentions it.
Yeah, see, they just want attention.
Yeah, that's all those
That's
types of
literally
things.
all it is.
But I
dude.
understand that too, because there are days
People
I'm
wanna
like,
talk
fuck
to
it,
people,
like
dude.
shit. Like, hey, let's strike up a conversation. You know, if I walk around with a fucking Jew beanie on, it's gonna bring up some attention.
Yeah, of
People
course.
like, why the hell are you Jewish? I'm like, why not?
Why not, dude? I felt like it today.
You don't eat ham? No. Really? I just saw you eating a ham sandwich the other day. All right, man. Well, I have.
That was the other day. It's not today.
It's
dude.
not today. I'm
Chill.
different today. My name is Jennifer now. Okay.
Are you assuming my gender?
But see, I was like that too. I was cracking jokes on the gender fluidity thing. That I had a transgender on my podcast.
Oh, cool.
A girl that felt out of place and is now a guy, and he's been taking testosterone for 5 months now.
Yeah, see.
I've witnessed his voice change to a more masculine. I've asked him what has changed about you. He's like, well, I reek now. I smell of BO. I have to use a lot more deodorant. I have mustache hair, and I'm starting to realize like fullness of my muscles. I'm sweating more in places I usually didn't sweat. And I was wondering, why did you become transgender? Because I don't believe you should be able to flip your gender like that. Like, you shouldn't have to be able to flip your gender 55 times in a conversation. And I told him this. I said, and see, it takes a lot for me to take a second and say him, because it is at birth a girl.
A girl, yeah.
But she felt out of place to where she would change and became this guy that I met from school called Dakota. Works over at the casino. Now, I was listening to him speak of why he came to this realization of himself. And I have myself a type of body dysmorphia where I look in the mirror and I don't like what I see.
Mm-hmm.
I see a guy that's 6 times overweight and not physically fit like I actually am. Now, I hear that, and I'm like, that's why I wear big clothing, button-ups, and these types of things. I heard his interpretation of looking in the mirror, seeing boobs that were there that he didn't want. Now, we all obviously don't want boobs, but him being a girl originally had more feminine features that she did not like seeing, wish she could just chop them off. And being able to try and explain this to people, and people thinking you're just mentally unstable. No, that's not mentally unstable. That's a person that felt like they were given the wrong dice at a type of way. And once I had this talk with him on there, I was like, please correct me if I'm saying things wrong. Please tell me, like, hey, that's fucking wrong. I want to learn. I'm not closed off to it. I believe that if you believe you're transgender, you should do it. Now, do I believe you should flip your gender 50 times in one conversation with someone? Like, you have to reference me as she now because I'm now Christina. It's like, excuse me? You were just Jim a minute ago. Oh, no, Jim's away. He'll be back in 10 minutes. Like, no, that's a problem. Don't do that. That's crazy shit. He believes that too. He's like, yeah, that's some crazy shit. Like, there's something wrong with that person. I'm like, I'm glad a transgender is giving me that perspective on that too. But the fact, like, schools, everything is now being afraid to say he, she, all these other things now, zim, zer, zim, zer, all this types of shit. Like, there's Z's now. You know, whether you identify under a guy that was a girl originally, it turns into a guy, it's now a zim. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I don't mind having an all-gender restroom. I don't mind.
Doesn't bother me.
It doesn't matter. If they're all stalls, it doesn't matter shit. You know, I take shits, women take shits. It doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. We're not any different. We're still humans. Like, the fact that, like, I'll sit in the bathroom and I'll take a shit. Like, I'll be like, hey, guys, I'm taking a shit. Like, sorry. I'm going to be gone for, like, 30 minutes. I'll come, like, people walking there, like, you were just taking a shit? I'm like, yeah, people shit. Okay? It's just, it hit me in that way. But, like, you can crack jokes on it, but you can't make interpretations of things without you experiencing it yourself. Like,
Yeah, and a lot of people that do make jokes, like, I mean, I make jokes, but obviously...
I make jokes too.
Yeah, exactly, man.
I told
it's
him
part
straight
of
to
it,
his
dude.
face. I was like, "Don't you miss your tits, though?" Like as a joke,
Dude,
and
that's
that's
funny.
just because like, and he laughed, and it's like the whole idea. If you try and stigmatize it and make them seem like a freak, whether you have a type of body dysmorphia, you're anorexic, or whatever, if you make them feel like a freak, you're hurting them more than just cracking a joke and making light of it, getting rid of the stigma that's there.
Yeah. So, and for most people that do, like, that are like that, it's tough for them to understand what other people feel because they're not them. Like, they don't know what they're going through. They don't know how they think. So they just go off their own thinking. They're like, well, if I think like this, then, like, fuck what they think. Like, they're wrong. I'm right.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
That's how, like, the reason I even started a podcast was a buddy was calling me on top of his roof drunk saying I'm going to jump and I need someone to talk to. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. We talked for 3 hours on the phone, dude.
That's pretty nice.
And I talked him down. He's like, dude, you need to go out there and, like, be a therapist. I'm like, that's what I was originally going for was chemical dependency. And I switched over to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And I switched over, now I think I want to do philosophy. Because I'm so founded and just like I'm so interested in just dealing with society, like socialist
Yeah, dude,
type
and you're
stuff.
like gonna be good at it because just having this conversation, dude. Like I said, I haven't talked to you in 6 years, dude, and you're killing me, and you're killing it with this conversation.
It's like
dude,
that 6
killing
years
it.
never happened. Like,
Yeah,
we're
dude, it's like
back.
we're fine.
Yeah, it's funny because I do fill in the blank, and it's like that's the narrowed down topics. I convinced my buddy that the Men in Black is real, but as I was doing it to him, because he was like, the Men in Black's not fucking real, Robbie. I was like, okay, well, I got the facts right here. Let's just talk about it. Everything was all like, there's been mysterious men picked up by blank plates of Cadillacs coming from all these like different accounts and shit. And I'm reading it, and I ended up convincing my fucking self. I was like, dude, but imagine, like, to think that there isn't a secret government out there that is dealing with aliens, and that they, like, there's all these cases, and I started reading it, and he goes, dude, I can't fucking believe it. And I'm like, what? He goes, you just convinced me the Men in Black's fucking real. Like, I believe that shit now. Then I was pulling up pictures that looked kind of fake, but there were people that looked like they were severely burned, no facial features, just blank fucking faces, eyes, eyebrows, like their ears were gone. It was just like, looked like someone shaved them down. And they talk about the process of shaving your bones down and shaving your skin so you don't have any facial features at all. Same thing with burning your fingerprints, which the CIA has done. And these two guys look like twins. They look like Freddy Krueger, like burned and everything. And that's how the Men in Black look. And I'm like, that's possible. And like people are like, that image is fake. I'm like, I don't know. Like,
Even if it is fake, dude, maybe it could be real.
Who's to say there isn't a thing out there keeping, if Reagan believed that there were aliens out in the world, and in his speech said, I don't think we should be, like, people are like, what do you believe on aliens? And he goes, I think that thinking we're the only thing here is stupid, and we need to be open to an extra force coming down here. And everyone's like, did he just say there are fucking aliens out there? And he's like, I'm not saying there are aliens, but if there are, I want to be prepared. And I'm like, yo, he's got some secret files of some
Dude,
shit.
that's pretty funny, dude.
And JFK did it too. A bunch of people started programs that look for unidentified flying objects in extraterrestrial research. There's those types of things. And I'm like, you got all these types of programs, like the fact that there's a CIA organization that's $600,000, and it's called the Center for Existential Risk, and it's a bunch of people that are literally looking at every technological advancement, making sure Skynet does not become a fucking thing. That is a government program that is funded. They're like, one day robots are going to take over the fucking world. It's going to happen, okay? It might happen just depending on where we go with technology, because we're becoming so lazy using technology to help solve our problems. Yeah. Technology created those fucking problems in the first place.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, I can look at all these topics and educate myself, literally becoming a human encyclopedia as I'm reading it. Because when we do the spin-off series, I don't just focus, like, on reading you facts. I pull up some pictures and shit. I get your thoughts on it. Like, I podcasted with my buddy about the boogeyman. I put that up. And we were talking about, like, imagine you're 18 years old and you're 16 years old and you're discovering your body and the boogeyman's living in your closet. And I'm like, okay, now I'm the boogeyman coming out of the closet. Ready? Dude, it's been 15 fucking times. Give your damn dick a break. And, like, we would say that on the podcast. And I put it up. And it's funny because they're 30-minute topics just narrowed down. Whatever the fuck you want to talk about. What is your one interest? What has interested you the most? I'm not talking about your passion for helping others. I'm talking about what's one thing you've always been fascinated with? Aliens, what?
Oh, see, dude, I love conspiracies. So, dude, the funniest thing, dude. So, my dad's just, he's an American, man. So, he loves the moon landing. He fucking hates 9/11. He fucking, dude, chemtrails, dude.
Moon landing was faked.
Dude, I tell him that okay, I don't 100% believe it.
What
but
I
can see
is,
it, dude.
I think
I don't doubt it.
We've been there. We didn't get there as quick as we thought we have. Now, it's been already proven evidence that we did fake the shots that we're taking onto the moon. That's 100% real. That's been out. That we've admitted to that. The reason was we were trying to win the space race.
Yep.
Now, do you know anything about Operation Paperclip?
No, I do not.
You're diving into the realm now. All of the information I'm about to tell you, everything that seems like wow, like I didn't know that. I did through a podcast, so I know pretty extensively on everything I'm talking about. I have printed out the articles. I did a podcast on Operation Paperclip. Basically, our whole space program was benefit of one group. Do you know who this group was? Nazis. The reason why was the NASA spaceship, that little fucking white thing that's on every single NASA shirt. The thing you think of a space shuttle.
Yeah.
That's a Nazi invention.
Yeah, because what guys from Nazis came over and helped us with that shit.
The main benefit, which you're talking about with the Nazis coming over and helping us, that was Operation Paperclip.
Okay.
The reason why they called it Operation Paperclip was after we busted the Nazi regime and all the scientists and everything, Russia, Japan, and America got to split up all the Nazi scientists, each departments. They all had files that were paperclipped, Operation Paperclip, to their chest. So you walk up to one of the scientists, and he had a fucking file clipped on him. You look at him. Oh, you worked heavily in the space program? I want you on the American side. So the American picked out because at this time we're fighting with Russia on the space race. They picked out all the people that were developed into the space program. Then we look over at Russia, who took all the chemical agents and all that type of stuff, took all those weird chemicals and designing all those types of things, took all those scientists. And then Japan got all the biological warfare ones.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of Operation Cherry Blossoms at Night?
I've not.
That would have turned America into Japan.
Oh, really?
The reason why is 2 months after the surrendered of Pearl Harbor, or Nagasaki, all that stuff.
Yeah.
This is the time around 1945 when Pearl Harbor happened. Unit 731. They are the worst experimental torture group in the history of the world, and they're 10 times worse than the Nazis. They actually had it's led by Hiroishi Ono, and his whole thing was he would take you, like they would take prisoners. They would chop off your arm while you're alive, not under anesthetics or anything, so you're just screaming in pain. They would time it, and they would sew it onto your other side of your fucking body.
Oh, that's nuts.
He would also... You ever seen the movie Snowpiercer?
I have not.
It's like all these people stuck on a train, and like it's too cold to go outside, and you will die of like frostbite and freeze to death in a matter of like a minute.
Uh-huh.
Well, they would stick someone's arm out the window or stick a body part out the window to punish them, and then after 30 seconds they'd bring it in and it'd be all blue, and they hit it with a fucking hammer and it'd break off. So the person that looked like a fucking stump of just a head and a body was obviously a fucking, got in trouble a lot. And it was just to correct your way of thinking. Well, Unit 731 practiced this. They did things of this sort. They used to put people in compression chambers and pop their eyes out of their fucking heads. They used to do shit worse than the fucking Nazis just because they wanted to test things. Now, they would do this thing with hypothermia. They would soak different parts of your body in different temperatures of water and leave you out in the freezing cold and see what would freeze fastest. And then they would hit it with a hammer. There's people that have had their fingertips shattered off like glass, and their arms shattered off. They would do vivisections. I don't know if you know what that is. While a person's alive, you cut them from the bottom, like where your vagina or crotch is, all the way straight up, like up to either to their chest or all the way up to their fucking brain. They would do all that type of shit. They don't care about having you undersleep, so people will be alive going through this.
That's insane, dude. Oh my god.
Now, they had a plan called Operation Cherry Blossoms at Night. Operation Cherry Blossoms at Night was a planned attack 2 months after they gave up after we bombed them. So this is before they knew they were going to get bombed or anything. They had 6 submarines filled with 150 million ticks and fleas filled with the bubonic plague that were put in canisters onto these 6 different missiles on this submarine. They were going to be launched at San Diego 2 months after they surrendered. If we would not have bombed them and teared them up so bad to the point they surrendered, we would be living under a Japanese rule right now.
Dude,
because
that's insane.
you know how hard it is to stop a tick with bubonic plague?
Oh.
It's a fucking
It's like impossible.
It's a fucking tick and a flea.
Yeah,
You ever
it's
try
impossible,
killing a
dude.
flea? They don't fucking die. You
don't
have to
even
spray
see
your
'em, dude.
house and shit.
Yeah.
Imagine a bomb hitting that and 150 million of those in each bomb going off. And next thing you know, fleas are spreading all over San Diego and they just start spreading all over the world.
They're
You
all
can't
over
kill
the
them
fucking
all.
place, dude.
It's all over with. They had this stuff. Like, we found the plane with the bombs in it. It's an exposed mission. And the reason why you don't hear about it is it's a little thing that got swept under the carpet. But we have a thing called the Freedom of Information Act. And that is because of the Rockefeller Commission of 1795 that believes any document should be open for the government to realize. Now, in 2017, Donald Trump released the 500 missing files of JFK. The ones that we didn't know about, all the shit that was going on, the secrets, to how they changed the route on his drive and everything. They took the long, or the quick route through town, not the long route. That was supposed, because they were supposed to get more attention, publicity, but he was late for a meeting, so they changed the route, and then that was a perfect shot where Harvey was set up to snipe him down. So that's where the conspiracy comes in. Also, like, you hear that, but they don't expose everything the CIA does until 20 years after the person has died.
Oh, really?
Because they don't want that person to be held accountable.
That's interesting.
You ever seen the movie Men Who Stare at Goats with George Clooney?
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
You know that's based on a real project?
Oh, really?
The Jedi Project over here in Fort Meade, Maryland.
Oh, really?
People were training psychological warriors. They were called the Earth Force Battalion. They were people that believed in using psychological powers to disarm enemies. We were creating psychological warriors, people that would use their mind to stop enemies. Now, Men Who Stare at Goats, it's on Netflix. I suggest watching it because the dude stops a goat's heart with his mind. And they do this thing called remote viewing, which is being able to pinpoint a location by using your psychological powers. That's how we tried to find Osama bin Laden, too. Obama used remote viewing, and basically it's like this. All right, and about 5 miles from here, 5 miles from here, and 5 miles from here, in between this area, this is where Osama bin Laden is, okay? Now you're like, okay, so he's in this general area. You're not giving me a pinpointed location, which is why the government doesn't believe in it. They're like, okay, it's obviously just a coincidence that we found Osama bin Laden after these people remote viewed. Because they gave us a parameter to work with. Oh, he's 50 miles in between that bridge and 50 miles in between that bridge. Okay? Thanks for the fucking narrowed down tip, man. Like, that's the whole reason it was fake. But we practiced staring at ghosts long enough and killing them that way. Now, I know this whole dived off the whole space program thing, but it led to... The only reason we went after that was because Russia was dealing with it first. Russia, we found out, they stopped working on it because they realized it was all horse shit. But psychological powers, they were trying to create psychological warriors. And we found out about it, so we're like, we need to fucking work on psychological warriors. Holy shit.
Whose dick's bigger?
The whole thing with the space program. When we started the space program, we found out Russia was going into space. They launched a person up there already. They had, the dog up there first?
Sputnik.
Yeah.
Or they had Was Sputnik the dog, or was that like the,
Pretty sure Sputnik
that was
was
just
the dog.
satellite.
Yuri Gagarin was the first one.
Okay.
The first astronaut in space, but he never landed on the moon. We were the first people on the moon.
It's funny now, because, like, they all go up together now, dude. Like, I think, like, a month ago, like, American, like, a Russian, like, a Japanese guy all came together, dude.
We traded on the International Space Station.
Yeah, dude, like...
Well, I think it's the fact that, like, we're so closed off on being, like, the first one to be the first to do anything. Mm-hmm. And then we come to a point, like, well, we've already done this. Why don't we just work together to accomplish our goals here? You know? And, like, when we go to the space race, the reason why we faked the photos of the moon landing was... It was all staged on a set. That's all been leaked. It's all been exposed. Same thing with the Roswell stuff. The Roswell stuff, that area now profits off of that. Now, my very first Fill in the Blank podcast was on Area 51, was on a guy named Bob Lazar. I don't know if you've heard about him recently in the news being discovered, but I did a podcast long before people found out that he was right all along. Bob Lazar's documentary is on Netflix. He worked at a place called Hangar 15 or Sector 7, which is the real Area 51. Mm-hmm. Now, there's now a thing going on Facebook, I don't know if you heard about with Area 51.
Dude, I've been seeing all the memes, man. I can't handle them.
Bob Lazar came out and said, guys, don't do this. The military will kill you, and it's not because they're hiding aliens in this facility. There are no aliens at Area 51. And people are like, what? You're the one that told us Area 51 was filled with aliens. He goes, no. I told you I worked at Sector 7. And if you read his documentary or watch his documentary on Netflix, he talks about one night him and his drunk friends sat on where Sector 7 was. He goes, watch this. And next thing you know, it's a flying fucking saucer at night. Flies up, flies across the thing on an airport runway, and then lands. And they're like, holy shit. And he was talking about it in Joe Rogan's podcast, like, and then we just started talking shit about how we could steal these UFOs and all these types of things and how easy it would be just to control one of these things and drive off and just go anywhere. And then next thing you know, he's like, a light fucking dropped in front of me and rolled to my feet. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Then all these lasers popped up and we had red dots all over us. The government was sitting there watching us and listening to us for 2.5 hours. And the one dude dropped his fucking flashlight scope, fucking night vision thing, onto the ground and it rolled over to his feet. They were that fucking close to him listening to have that conversation. That gives me goosebumps just fucking hearing that shit, dude. That they were being watched. The whole fucking conversation. These two guys are sitting there drinking beer, talking shit about stealing government projects of flying saucers and shit. And next thing you know, other people have been listening to their conversation for 2.5 hours.
That's insane, dude.
And he talks about that, and you're literally like, holy fuck, like, how did you not die? And he, like, you know, the government knew about his wife that was cheating on him before he did. And that was because they tapped his phones. Like, they had permission to wiretap his phones, and they were pulling up conversations. They only pulled him into his office, into their office, and was like, you know your wife's cheating on you, right? He's like, what? And he goes, is this going to be a problem? Is this going to be something that's going to be a detriment to us and our secrets? Are you going to expose any of our stuff because you're dealing with some emotional trauma at home? Because we can't have any of this. People need to be having a personal ethic when they work here. You can't tell anybody about this. And he was like, no, I didn't know. And then like next thing you know, he just realized it was all bullshit. Like he needed to get these secrets out. They took away all his MIT files, all of his education diplomas from Harvard, all these places, and had the school delete them, burn them, everything. So the past 40 years, everybody's been thinking he's been a conspiracy nut. He's been ridiculed. He's been watched the whole time. His literally life has been hell for the past 40 years. He says, I have a PhD at Harvard. They're like, no, you fucking don't, and there's no proof of it. Because there isn't one. They got rid of it.
That's insane.
And he's going out trying to speak this stuff to people. And people are like, shut the fuck up. Like, you're a liar. Whatever, dude. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you found Sector 7. You worked with flying saucers. He literally came out and said, flying saucers exist. And they're like, what do you mean? He's like, the Nazis created it. They have this type of element that was not on the periodic table at the time. It's called element 115. Now, this type of element can't be... I guess it can't last, at least the man-made way of using it. It doesn't last longer than 3.5 seconds. It just disappears. But it's like a type of metal that I can take it, crush it with my hands, and turn it into a sphere.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That type of shit.
Okay.
Like some stuff like Iron Man shit. I can make it fly like a saucer. Now, the saucers were made of this, and the Nazis had all this stuff.
Dude, that's insane, man.
And he talks about this, and now there's evidence and proof that he was right, because he came out and said gravity wavelengths have two forms, A and B. And I was researching this about when all this stuff was arising 2 years ago or a year ago, and it was my first fill in the blank podcast on it. And I was like, so wait, this guy's considered a conspiracy nut because he said there's flying saucers and there's this type of element that we don't know how, and the government's hiding it from us, and he's seen flying saucers and all this type of stuff. And he goes, gravity wavelengths have two forms, A and B. And they're like, okay, that's not true. You're obviously a bullshitter, and that's why you say you're a PhD candidate, and you're not. Trust me. And they're like, what do you mean it's not true? Gravity wavelengths only have one form, and it's A, man. This isn't there's no such thing as gravity B. And he goes, you know what gravity A is? It's the fact that I can take this can, drop it from 2 feet, it drops straight down. That's gravity. That's A, gravity A. He said there's gravity B, a type of thing that causes something to push up and float up without anything. It's just a force, a power. That's what you see at the UFOs, the bottom of them, that little circle part.
Yeah.
That's propulsion. That's gravity wavelength B. And he said this is what caused the flying saucers to fly. Everyone said he's bullshit for 40 years, calling him a conspiracy nut. In 2018 of December. So this is just recently.
Yeah, dude, this is 6 months ago.
Yeah.
7 months ago.
now institute, a giant technical college, is getting the Nobel Prize because they discovered gravity wavelengths have two forms, A and B. So this guy was right for 40 years. So now they're re-looking at all of his stuff that he said, and they're realizing we've been calling this guy a conspiracy nut for 40 years, and he's actually right. So now he's getting all his grants, and now he's getting looked at. He's getting documentaries written about him. He's getting all these things written about him because he gave light to Area 51. And it's the whole fact that it pissed people off so much that now there's a fucking petition going on where 650,000 people are now signed up to go invade Area 51. And he's literally telling people, don't fucking do it. You're going to die. The government's not going to let you see the projects that they're working on. There's no aliens there. That's not where it is. It's Sector 7 is what hells everything, but we don't know where that is. Nobody does, because they move it around all the fucking time. And you hear that, and you're like, holy shit. You're wondering what the government's keeping from you, these protectors, and you don't believe there's a secret society out there?
Dude, that's crazy, man.
Like, fuck, man. You hear Operation Cherry Blossoms at Night, Unit 731, hearing that our space program's fake, the moon landing's fake, all this shit fake. What's real? Is my grandma fake? Is my grandma real? Is my mom real? Is that really my mom, or is that a crisis actor? I don't know. You go into some nutty shit, man, and I dive down these rabbit holes, and people are like, you're down deep, man. You're just going crazy at this point. No. Who's to say I'm the crazy one and my eyes aren't just opened? Now, do I believe they're spraying the crops to make the frogs gay? Sorry, Alex Jones, I don't believe that. But there's a podcast I want you to look up after we're done here, and that's Joe Rogan's podcast with Eddie Bravo called Alex Jones Returns 2.
Okay.
Pause it every 5 minutes after Alex Jones goes on this crazy rant, because just like how I ranted to you, it's a lot of information, and you probably have questions. So if you have any questions, just ask. But I'm trying to explain it as easy as I possibly can. All my information and the fact that I had just the knowledge to look it up, all came from Alex Jones. You can't understand a fucking word he's saying, but when I work out for around 2 to 3 hours. So that's a full length of a Joe Rogan podcast. I've listened to this podcast over and over again while I was working out, and I'm like, I paused it during a set, and I'd be like, is that fucking true? Look it up. He exposed the Jedi Project to me, the fact that we were doing psychological warfare testing. He exposed Operation Chariot Night Blossom to me. He exposed Operation Paperclip to me. Opened up my eyes to the point where I started doing my own research and realizing, holy shit, no one's talking about this. The government, CIA, on their website, has all of this shit you can look up.
Oh, really?
It's all open information, but the whole fact is it's not known on the news, so you don't go bother and look it up. So like, wait a minute, I can look this up. Go on the CIA website when you leave here. Look this shit up. It's all on there. All the documents, everything. All the project names. They all have the secret files, all the stuff. It's all information that's put up there. And the whole reason is, it's been 20 years. That person's dead now that was involved in that
so
program.
it doesn't matter.
So it doesn't matter. Like, what are you going to do? Like, we also did Project Sunshine. Nobody knows about that. We used to steal the corpses of dead people from families of loved ones, and without telling them, and then we used to test radiation on their bones, seeing what radiation poisoning to do. We also had a project called Project A119 where we were going to launch a nuke at the moon before we landed on it.
Oh, really?
And the whole reason was we wanted to test our biological or our nuclear weapons on the moon and show everybody how fucking powerful we were.
Oh, wow.
And then one research guy was like, hey, we can't do that. Like, why? Because if we're going to end up colonizing on the moon one day and trying to explore the moon, we're going to fuck up any research of what the moon's normal state is if we launch a fucking nuclear bomb on it. And I'm like, I think you got a point. I do think you got a point there.
It's just a little one, though.
So the National World Organization, the NATO, the national, whatever, all the World Alliance people, all came to a ban that said no nuclear weapon testings in space.
Hey,
there you go.
Hey, there you go.
That's a real document that's
Easy
been
enough.
Fucking filed, signed off by the goddamn president, and there you go. Next thing you know.
Easy enough.
There are little secrets and stuff that people aren't known to, and I feel like we have to get this stuff out there, because once you start diving into this, I was just saying that because you're interested in it.
Yeah, dude, I think it's cool.
I'll invite you, dude. You can come over next time you have like a night off. If you get home at 6:30 and you just want to come by for like an hour and just shoot the shit on some topics, dude. I'll print out. I got so many fucking topics in this binder right here. I have 2 fucking binders filled that you can just look through, from things from Victorian fucking First one, the fucking Gansfield experiment. I got shit from experiments, conspiracy, biographies, Victorian surgery, and stuff. It's because you're interested in it. I get interested in it because you're interested about it. And it's all factual shit now.
And dude, and to find this shit, like, it's not super hard, but if you like Google it,
that's
like,
fucking Wikipedia.
Yeah,
and then
dude.
next thing I know, I just start going to other sites and seeing how credible that information is, and I start sifting through the horse shit myself.
Sifting through the horse shit.
That's like my now slogan for this podcast.
I like
sifting
it,
through
dude.
the horse shit. So you see what I mean, though? Like, we can't be closed off to conspiracy theories. Like, me and my buddy are Bigfoot believers.
Dude, me and my dad are Bigfoot
I
believers.
fucking convinced myself into believing in Bigfoot. And at the end of the podcast, I was like, damn it. And my buddy's like, what? I'm like, I just fucking convinced myself Bigfoot's real.
Well, dude, look at it like this, dude. There's so much fucking unexplored shit. How is Bigfoot not real?
Who's to say it's one person and
Yeah,
not...
dude, it's gotta be a freaking colony.
It's a species.
Yeah, it's like just another species of a gorilla. Dude, like, that's nuts, too. You gotta think of all that shit, man. Think about all the shit that's in the ocean, man.
There's the whole fact of cryptozoology is, and I podcasted on it. There are a total of 2.2 million animals or species of animals that are not discovered on land yet. And
Dude,
there's
I don't
also
doubt that one bit.
6.5 that are not discovered in sea.
I don't
That's
doubt
an
that one
estimate.
bit,
They
dude.
say there's between 9 million and there's between 22 million species still left undiscovered. I think it's 1,500 species gets discovered every single year.
That's insane, dude. And it's crazy. And it just keeps, like, dude, there's more than just that shit.
Who's to say that one day we're not going to figure out there's a fucking... The Yeti, Bigfoot, El Kukui, all those boogeyman type monsters are real too.
No, dude, I'm telling you, man. Shit's nuts. It's really weird to think about.
Keeps your mind questioning things.
Yeah, see, dude, and I always try to fucking do that with my dad just to piss him off.
Yeah.
I think it's funny,
Sometimes you like gotta play devil's advocate, man.
Hey, dude,
You
like,
gotta be
well-
why do you think that way? You ever heard of this? I try and talk to my family about this. Like, Robbie, you're down a fucking rabbit hole we can't get you out of. I'm like,
cool.
I'm not in a fucking rabbit hole. I'm open to fucking life, man.
Yeah, dude, like, the other day we were watching, like, because I guess, like, the 50-year anniversary of the moon landing's coming up. I'm like, dude, Dad, why that shit even matter? That shit was filmed in Hollywood. And he just gets so mad at me, man.
Don't you fucking tell me I was fucking
I
there.
fucking watched it, dude.
I
It is
saw
so
it fucking
funny.
happen.
It's like, all right, well, I watched Men in Black the other day, and
Yeah, I mean, I saw that happen, too.
yeah,
It's just so funny, man.
It's fun because like sometimes it's good to play devil's advocate, but I don't think you should be closed off to anything because who's to say what's real or not? And it's when I say you got to sift through the horse shit yourself. You got to find out what's the real and what's the fake news.
I mean, if you believe it, dude, you don't really have to, it doesn't matter, man. If you believe it, you believe it.
Yeah,
That's
I'm not
how I
gonna
look at
change
it,
your
dude.
way of thinking.
I don't care if people don't believe it, man. I believe it, so fuck off.
I believe that there's a fucking pink unicorn out there that's
Yeah.
looking at the world saying, hey, there's some real shit going on, bro.
Yeah.
Let me level with you.
Dude, dude, I saw something that was like, why would aliens come here, dude? This place sucks.
My fascination is why are they obsessed with probing your ass?
Yeah, I don't get that, man.
And
Like,
then my buddy brought up a point. Doesn't everything we eat and all our information come from the food we eat being processed out of our... So you can tell a lot about... I'm like, wait a minute, that makes sense. Why do we look at an animal shit and sometimes analyze an animal shit to discover a species?
Yeah.
Like, that's all their information. That's why they probe our ass, because that's where all the information leads to.
So weird, man.
I'm like, that fucking brings up the fascination of aliens. And I'm like, are these people fucking loons? Or is that guy on the bus that's screaming that no one wants to sit next to just have all the fucking answers? It's crazy to think, man. And I just get mind boggled on it because I'm like, how far do I feel like going? It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I should get some sleep, but I am now interested in wondering if the fucking Yeti is real or not.
Yeah, dude, it's funny, man. Like,
Welp, and that's when you crack the knuckles. You're like, fuck it, I'm diving in. And then next thing you know, you're into fucking Pastafarianism and fucking your mom's not real, nobody's real, the fucking world's crisis actor, Sandy Hook was all fake, and you're diving into worlds unknown.
yup, dude, it's funny, man. I think that stuff's so interesting. Like, even though it's just all, like, you get, half the stuff I think's crazy, but obviously, like, people can prove it. Dude, it's not all crazy.
See, you work with people with disabilities, and you realize we're all fucking mentally disabled because we don't understand the real shit that's going on.
Yeah, see, dude, they see the real world.
And it's funny because, like, my buddy's like, I'm not coming over to podcast anymore. I'm like, why? He goes, because you're convincing me on too much shit I shouldn't be believing in or I shouldn't be known to. I'm like, don't you want to have your mind fucking open? He goes, dude, it's too fucking much,
It's
man.
too fucking open.
When it's keeping me up and you're sending me text messages at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, fucking, this is real, look this shit up, and then I go and look it up and I can't sleep right for the next fucking week. It's messing me up. I'm like, what do I say to you on this? I just want you to be open to it. I want you to think that there is some other shit out there. And he's like, yeah, but let me just say, next time let me choose the topic. Can we just do something on, like, cornflakes? Alright, buddy, I hate to tell you, but the real reason cornflakes was invented was to prevent masturbation. He goes, what? He goes, no, now you're fucking with me. Nope. Sir Harvey Kellogg, the owner of the creator of cornflakes in 1949, developed cornflakes, and it was to prevent masturbation. He believed that eating a cereal so bland was would decrease your passions. He believed passions and sugar were linked to sexual inspirations and all this type of shit. Real shit. That's on Adam Ruins Everything, that show on True TV.
Yeah.
He talked about that. He talked
Dude,
about
that's really
cornflakes.
fucking funny. Dude.
And the old rooster, the green rooster, do you know the name of that rooster? Corny.
Really?
You know what his slogan used to be? You know what his slogan used to be? Up, up, up with cornflakes, down, down, down with masturbation.
That is nuts, dude.
Dude, yeah.
That is nuts.
His brother made the spin-off of the cereal where they added sugar to it, and his brother, Mr. Kellogg, actually freaked out on his brother, saying, people are going to be masturbating left and fucking right if you add sugar, like freaking out. Like, you're messing with the original recipe. Don't fuck with the OG. Like, that whole thing. Like, wow, man. Like, the fact that was a real fucking thing, and he developed it in a mental institution after he left some oats in a bowl and it became mush. That's the whole reason Kellogg got created.
Dude,
The potato
insane,
chip
man.
was created on fucking accident.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some dude made something for his manager. He's like, it's too soft and all this. He goes, oh, it's too fucking soft, right? These fries aren't cooked right. Okay. Put them in a fucking oven. Next thing you know, he sliced them real thin to be a dick, and then he put them in the oven and baked them. And he gave them to him, how do you like that? And the dude ate it. He goes, it's actually really good. That's what the potato chip was.
See, I feel like half the things that are invented were just accidents.
Yeah. A lot of shit's just like, damn, this is good. You know, the little cheese curls?
Yeah.
You know how that was invented? It was originally animal feed.
Oh, really?
The machine that grinded up the corn to make animal feed and all that stuff, we used to gunk up in the machine, and some dude swooped it out, and it was in a ball shape, and he ate it.
Oh, wow.
Next thing you know, he's like, we could turn this into a product, and they created cheese curls.
Dude, that's funny as shit.
It's the whole idea, like, you don't know where you can literally catch lightning in a bottle, you know?
No, dude, you gotta think about half the stuff who, like, invented. It's like, who was first the guy that milked a cow?
That's what I'm saying. That's really what I just said earlier.
Why would you do that?
Why would you drink a cow's tit?
Yeah, dude, like, oh man, let me just tug this and see what comes out. Let me just jerk this cow off real
Didn't eat
quick.
his cornflakes that day and was like, I don't want to touch myself because that would involve.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna go touch his. I'm just gonna go touch his cow real quick.
Getting some of that milk.
Dude, that is so funny.
And I look at that and I'm like, damn. And then I start like, I go to school and you get like 150 prints on paper, and I'm like, I'll go to school every week just to print out a bunch of horse shit. And the first fucking space saucer that was ever invented was in Canada. That was a fucking a concept of the Nazi idea, like, and it was the ARZO79 fucking, and it's fucking ridiculous. I have a goddamn article over there about it. I find fascination with this shit. I'm like, dude, life has secrets. Let's discover this shit.
Yeah,
let's get on the yellow brick road of crack and let's go. I just love it, dude, man. And then I get real passionate about it. And my buddy's like, dude, it's fucking nuts to see you like, dive into this stuff. I'm like, I asked you what you were interested in. You told me you're interested in folklore. I started looking up every single folklore crazy shit out there. I typed in Google. Tell me some crazy shit I've never heard before. Bam! I'm starting hearing World War II veterans. A guy that fell out of a plane 22,000 feet up in the air and landed back into his plane after his plane did a loop.
Oh, that's pretty
And he
sick.
flew it down to the ground using his feet. His name was Donald Graham. He tried to fly an airplane, perform a loop. All the way up at the top of the loop, he fell out of his seat and fucking fell down. I think it was like 8,000 feet or something. And he was at a total of 22,000 feet. And fucking landed right back onto his plane because it continued the loop and caught him. Also, the guy that used to be known as the Nazi-killing, bagpipe-playing, sword-wielding badass of World War II, Jack Churchfield, that used to walk into fucking, or John Whitefield or Jack Churchill. They used to walk into battle, and there's pictures of them getting off the boat, like on the boat of the beach and everything, with a fucking samurai sword. People are like, what the fuck? And he has bagpipes on his back.
Oh, dude, that's sick.
He used to kill Nazis and fucking play bagpipes and shit. Then he got captured after his whole team got blown up. While he was getting captured, he played bagpipes until they came and got him. Now he's mortally wounded. They tortured him for fucking, I think it was like 3 months or something. He escaped, went all the way to the camp after walking 84 miles to a camp, got a samurai sword, got a gun, walked all the way back to the camp he was imprisoned at, and killed every single person that was in charge of torturing him.
Dude,
He hunted every single one of them fucking down and murdered them. I'm sorry, man. There's people like this, and you don't hear about them, and the whole reason you don't hear about that guy is because he's part of the British history.
Yeah,
like, why isn't that guy in our history books? He's not part of our history.
Not American, man.
If you're not American, you don't get put in the books.
You're not a person.
Sorry. you wear fancy hats and you speak with your pinky up while you're sipping your chai tea.
Uh-huh.
Oh, governor!
Oh, man, that's funny.
You just find some shit and you're like, God damn, life is... You know, when people say life sucks, life does suck. You just gotta find the mysteries and the shit that makes it worth
Makes it a little less sucky.
Makes it... It's like, put, disguising that shit sandwich.
It's like putting sugar on it, dude.
Yeah.
Sugar in your tea. Tea sucks if you don't put sugar in it.
Yeah, if you don't have sugar on something, you're not masturbating, and that's not a life worth living.
Nope, it's not worth it.
Well, John, I hope this podcast was at least a little bit different than what you were expecting.
Yeah, dude, it lasted a lot longer than I thought it would, which is all good.
Which I'm glad you can come down and do it, and I hope to have you on again soon, dude. Because I feel like if you're into conspiracy theories, we got some shit to talk about.
Dude, I'm good, man. I had a lot of fun, dude.
Right on. All right, well, we'll get you on again soon, and stay tuned for another episode of Out of the Blank podcast.